bersujud kepada Buddha, ku bersujud kepada Dharma, ku bersujud kepada Sangha, ku bersujud kepada Guru Padmasambhava. Oh Guru Padmasambhava, ku beribadah mengikuti jejak langkahmu sampai aku mencapai pencerahan agung. Om Ahung Vajra Guru Padma Siddhimu. Aku mohon limpahkan berkahmu kepada guruku yang welas asih, penuh kesabaran membimbing aku menuju jalan kebijaksanaan. Semoga guruku sehat dan panjang umur, semoga sinar agung selalu terangi jalannya, semoga semua pekerjaan selalu berhasil, pencapaian terus bertumbuh selamanya. Semoga guruku berbahagia selamanya dan mencapai kebudayaan demi semua makhluk. Hanya doa yang bisa aku panjatkan untuk membalas kebaikan dan cinta kasihnya. Oh selingkuhku, engkau yang tidak terpisahkan dengannya, teruslah berbelas kasih dan berjalan bersamaku. Om Ahung Buddha Karma Karuna Siddhimu. Om Ahung Buddha Karma Karuna Siddhimu. Om Ahung Buddha Karma Karuna Siddhimu.
Dengan kami di sini untuk lebih mengenal dengan tamu istimewa kita pada malam hari ini, yaitu Lama John Hoag. Good evening all gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, good evening Rinpoche La, good evening, and also good evening Lama John.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us in our program. And so we like to introduce you a little bit about Lama John is one of very special person who has very deep experience, spiritual experience, and also very close relationship with our great masters in this time, like Dujom Rinpoche and also Chota Rinpoche and all the great, some great masters in Vajrayana tradition. So,
Can you speak a little louder?
Oh, my voice is not clear. Sorry.
It's a little not very loud.
Not very loud. Okay. Oh, okay. So now it's okay. Now you can hear my voice.
Slightly better. Not
Here in terminal.
sound is fine. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I
Okay.
repeat again. Yeah. So now we like to thank to Lama John for joining us in our program this evening. Welcome, Lama John. So we like to listen to your experience and your insight, your minimal insight for us. So I will let you to start the Zoom meeting and you start to introduce yourself and explaining more deeply about your experience. So please, Lama John, start.
Okay. Thank you. Perhaps before we start, you can read just a very brief refuge and bodhicitta.
Okay.
Could you read, please?
Oh, Sangji Chodang Saki Chunamla. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, so we now we before we start, we take refuge and we generate bodhicitta mind. So Sangye Chodang Saki Chunamla Jangju Padudak Ni Kiap Suchi Dagi Jinso Gi Pesunam Ki Drola Penjir Sangye Dropar Sho Sangye Chodang Saki Chunamla Jangju Padudak Ni Kiap Suchi Dagi Jinso Ki Pesunam Ki Drola Penjir Sangye Dropar Sho Sangye Chodang Saki Chunamla Jangju Padudak Ni Kiap Suchi Dagi jinso ki pe senam ki drola pinjir sangye dropar sho. Semchen tamche dewa dang dewi gyu dang den bar gyur chik. Tukngal dang tukngal ki gyu dang dralwar gyur chik. Tukngal mi pe dewa dam pa dang min dralwar gyur chik. Ni ring cha dang ni dang dralwe dang yong chen pola ni bar gyur chik. So, okay, Lama John, please.
Okay. Thank you so much. And good evening, everyone here. So nice to see everyone. I'm here in USA and in Montana, not so far from Washington, Seattle, where Tukurumbaji stayed before. And so very, very nice here. Still is quite nice, cool summer weather. So it's so nice that you are all here now, student of Tugu Rinpoche, and I also was the student of Holiness Dujum Rinpoche and Jatra Rinpoche, and also I had the opportunity to meet and study with many, many of the great Lama back in the late 70s and 80s, 1980s in Nepal, in India, and even in Tibet. So I went over there just after I finished with my university. And first I went to Japan, then I went to China and Taiwan and stayed there. And then about 1977, 78, I went over to Nepal. And then after I got to Nepal, I met, first I met Dujum Rinpoche, and then I met Jada Rinpoche and many of the other great lamas there at that time. And I stayed in Nepal for about more than 30 years and
Wow.
studied Tibetan at that time. And then finally, I came back to the US and stayed about half the time in the US after about 2006 or 2007. So,
Excuse me, Lama John.
so before,
Excuse me, Lama John. Can we translate? Can we translate first to our Dharma
oh,
brothers
certainly,
and sisters?
yeah,
Yeah, the
certainly.
brother
So
and sister
here,
in
I'll be
Indonesia.
a little shorter.
Okay, then maybe our host Jiwo will let you know after that.
Sure.
Okay, please, Jiwo. Thank you, Lama John.
So thank you, Lama John. Let me translate your story before you continue. So ya, jadi Lama John mengucapkan salam kepada kita dan berterima kasih karena telah diberikan kesempatan bersama kita untuk bersama-sama mendengarkan pengalaman beliau. Jadi beliau senang bersama kita sebagai murid-murid dari Tulku Rinpoche dan juga murid dari Dujum Rinpoche dan Jatrat Rinpoche. Dan beliau merasa beruntung karena di tahun-tahun 80-90-an beliau dapat bepergian ya, terutama ke India dan bahkan ke Tibet. Dan beliau pergi ke sana itu setelah menyelesaikan pendidikannya di university, dan beliau pergi ke Cina dan ke Taiwan. Dan pada tahun 1977 beliau tinggal di Nepal dan kemudian berjumpa dengan Dujum Rinpoche, Jatrat Rinpoche dan beberapa guru-guru agung yang lain. Dan beliau tinggal di Nepal selama kurang lebih 30 tahun ya untuk belajar tentang Tibetan, dan kemudian kembali ke USA sekitar tahun 2006 atau 2007. Ya. So please, Lama John, you can continue.
So actually, how did I meet Dujum Rinpoche? Well, it's a very strange story. So actually, I was on the airplane. I was in Taiwan, and I was going to the university in Taiwan, and I was also studying the Chinese classics while I was in Taiwan, professor from Taiwan University. And I was planning to stay in Taiwan, and then I was going to do a graduate program there. But when I was in Taiwan, a friend of mine in Taiwan had gone to Nepal, and he was a photographer, and he came back and he had a photo exhibit in Taiwan, and he had gone up in the mountains in Taiwan, and he had stopped in some of the temples up in the mountains, and especially he stopped in the temple up where Tulsik Rinpoche had his temple. So Tulsik Rinpoche was quite a famous Lama at the time, and he was a student of Dujum Rinpoche. So I saw the photos from my friend's exhibit, and I went and I saw the photos of the Lamas there, and I immediately thought, wow, these look really like some Lamas that have some realization. So I'm going to go to Nepal and visit there. And then in the summertime, I came back to America, and there was a group of people that were doing mountain climbing, and I was a member of that group at the time from Seattle called the REI. And they had a trip to go trekking in Nepal. So I joined up. Okay.
Ya, kemudian bagaimana Lama John bisa berjumpa dengan Dujung Rinpoche itu melalui suatu peristiwa yang agak aneh ya. Jadi pada suatu ketika beliau naik pesawat dan beliau berencana untuk pergi ke Taiwan untuk belajar bahasa Mandarin klasik ya dari seorang profesor di Taiwan. Kemudian Lama John berencana untuk tinggal di Taiwan. Dan kemudian beliau tinggal di Taiwan itu sampai hampir lulus dari sekolah. Kemudian beliau pergi ke Nepal. Dan di situ beliau berjumpa dengan seorang fotografer yang memotret sebuah gunung. Dan di gunung itu, di puncak gunung itu ada sebuah kuil atau wihara dari tempat berdiamnya Trusik Rinpoche. Ya. Trusik Rinpoche adalah seorang guru Vajrayana yang sangat terkenal pada waktu itu. Kemudian dari Trusik Rinpoche itu dia melihat dan Trusik Rinpoche ini merupakan salah satu murid dari Dujung Rinpoche. Dan kemudian Lama John melihat sebuah foto dari Dujung Rinpoche. Dan saat itu beliau merasa bahwa wah, ini adalah seorang guru yang memiliki realisasi. Beliau merasakan hal yang seperti itu, kemudian berencana untuk pergi ke Nepal. Dan kemudian setelah pulang dari kembali lagi ke Amerika, Lama John bergabung dengan grup pendaki gunung yang akan pergi ke Nepal. Kemudian beliau bergabung dengan grup pendaki gunung tersebut. Okay.
So I bought a ticket to go to Nepal. So I was already, I came back in the summer. I was again in Taiwan. I was studying at the university, and I bought a ticket very close by to go to Nepal. Okay.
Ya, kemudian setelah itu beliau berencana untuk ke Nepal dan kemudian membeli tiket untuk pergi ke Nepal.
So I didn't know anything about Tibet or Tibetan Buddhism or anything about the Tibetan Lamas. So when I was in the States, I bought one book telling about one man had written about Tibetan Buddhism. And I was reading that on the plane from Taiwan over to Nepal. And as I was flying into Kathmandu, about 20 minutes before landing in Kathmandu, you can look out the window and then you can have a beautiful view of Mount Everest and all the Himalayan peaks. Amazing view. I think you've all seen when you've traveled to Nepal.
Ya, kemudian Lama John mengatakan bahwa pada saat itu beliau tidak tahu apa-apa tentang Buddha Tibet ya, Tibetan Buddhism. Kemudian beliau berjumpa dengan seseorang yang memperkenalkan tentang Tibetan Buddhism dan beliau membaca sebuah buku tentang Tibetan Buddhism di pesawat ketika dalam perjalanan dari Taiwan menuju Kathmandu. Dan ketika sampai di dekat Kathmandu, beliau melihat dari pesawat itu keindahan dari Gunung Everest dan puncak-puncak dari Gunung Himalaya.
So there are many beautiful sights there. And while I was looking out the window, I was still reading this book, and the book said, the man that had written the book, he had been a student of Dujum Rinpoche, and he said, you know, there are many great lamas that you can meet, especially in Kathmandu. He said, but the greatest living Lama that he thought was Dujum Rinpoche. And Dujum Rinpoche was in Kathmandu. So I never heard of Dujum Rinpoche before, but as soon as I read that line in the book, then I thought, oh, I have to go and see Dujum Rinpoche. I'm definitely going to see Dujum Rinpoche.
Ya, kemudian di dalam pesawat itu dia Lama John membaca buku ya, dan kemudian di dalam buku itu disebutkan berbagai nama dari guru-guru agung termasuk Dujum Rinpoche. Jadi di dalam buku disebutkan ada beberapa guru yang tinggal di Kathmandu, tinggal di Nepal, dan salah satunya adalah Dujum Rinpoche. Dan kemudian beliau merasa bahwa beliau ingin sekali ketemu langsung dengan Dujum Rinpoche dan kemudian langsung pergi menuju ke tempat Dujum Rinpoche.
So we landed and immediately I got to the hotel. That time there's no traffic in Kathmandu, maybe about 200 or 300 cars in the whole city. That's all. So I took a taxi to the hotel. I got to the hotel, I checked in and got everything arranged. And next day we were supposed to be meeting with a trekking group, so I had some free time. So I went downstairs and immediately I asked the man at the hotel counter, have you ever heard of Dujum Rinpoche? Where does he live?
Ya, kemudian setelah itu Lama John mendarat di Kathmandu. Ya, dan pada waktu itu di Kathmandu itu tidak semacet sekarang ya, hanya terdiri dari 200 atau 300 mobil saja di seluruh kota. Kemudian sampailah Lama John di hotel, kemudian karena perjanjian dengan grup pendaki gunung itu baru esok harinya, maka ada waktu senggang saat itu, dan kemudian Lama John turun ke bawah, kemudian menanyakan ke resepsionis di mana tinggal Dujum Rinpoche.
So he didn't know, of course, because he's just a Nepali man. He doesn't know anything about Tibetan Buddhism, but he said, "Oh, there's so many Tibetans in Bodhanath. So if you go to Bodhanath, I think you can find Dujum Rinpoche." So I got in a taxi and immediately I went to Bodhanath. That time there's no traffic at all in Kathmandu. You can go from Kathmandu to Bodhanath just 15 minutes. Very easy.
Ya. Kemudian karena petugas resepsionis itu adalah seorang Nepali dan tidak tahu menahu mengenai Tibetan Buddhism, resepsionis itu mengatakan bahwa ada banyak orang Tibet yang tinggal di sekitar Bodhanath, dan kemudian Lama John waktu itu naik taksi langsung dari Kathmandu menuju ke Bodhanath. Karena pada saat itu tidak ada kemacetan, maka jarak antara kota Kathmandu dengan Bodhanath hanya 15 menit perjalanan.
So I got out of the taxi in Bodhanath and I immediately saw some Tibetans walking around, look like some lamas. And I asked them, where is Dujum Rinpoche staying? And they pointed me and he said, Dujum Rinpoche, I don't know, but Dujum Rinpoche's temple is right over here. So just about 50 yards away. So I walked down to the temple and there's some lamas there, especially some lamas with a white outfit, white and red outfit, white and red Zen wearing. And I asked to them, and one Lama knew some English. And he said, oh, Dujum Rinpoche, he's actually living in Kathmandu. And you can, I said, well, can I go and see him? They said, no, you cannot see him now because he's getting ready to give the Dujum Tersar, which is the big initiation, all the Dujum initiations. And he's going to be giving it here after some weeks. and we're preparing everything for the initiation here.
Ya, kemudian setelah itu sampai di Budanat, Lama Jun melihat ada banyak orang yang berkumpul di situ berjalan berkeliling ya, mungkin melakukan pradaksina, dan kemudian dia menanyakan ke orang-orang tersebut di mana Dujung Rinpoche tinggal. Kemudian mereka mengatakan, oh saya tidak tahu Dujung Rinpoche tinggal di mana, tapi di dekat sini ada biara Dujong, ada mungkin sekitar 50 yard dari tempat tersebut. Kemudian pergilah Lama Jun ke sana dan beliau melihat ada banyak orang yang mengenakan baju jubah dengan merah dan putih ya, jubah dujom yang berwarna merah dan putih, dan ada beberapa lama di situ yang bisa sedikit berbahasa Inggris. Kemudian ditanyakan kepada mereka dan mereka mengatakan, bisakah saya ketemu dengan Dujung Rinpoche? Kemudian mereka mengatakan bahwa Dujung Rinpoche tinggal di Kathmandu. Tetapi saat ini tidak bisa ditemui karena mereka sedang mempersiapkan sebuah inisiasi yang sangat besar dan mereka sedang melakukan persiapan inisiasi tersebut.
So I went into the temple there, I visited the temple, and there's about 15 or 20 of Dujum Rinpoche's lamas and students, and they're preparing and putting up some big tents and everything for the initiation. And Dujum Rinpoche's temple at that time in Kathmandu, it was very, very tiny. Maybe 15 people could fit inside the room. It was maybe 2 meters by 3 meters. That's all.
Ya, kemudian di situ ada sekitar 15 atau 20 orang lama yang sedang menyiapkan upacara dan mendirikan tenda. Dan kondisi dari wihara Dujung Rinpoche saat itu sangat kecil ya, dengan satu rumah itu dihuni oleh 15 orang dan rumahnya itu hanya sekitar 2 meter kali 3 meter saja.
Or maybe only 3 by 4 meters. Only about 15 people could fit inside. Very tiny. So all the people that would come to the initiation, they're all going to be, it's going to be outside in the tent in front of the temple. So anyway,
jadi, okay.
Go ahead.
Ya, jadi tempat Dujung Rinpoche itu sangat kecil, jadi mungkin sekitar 4 meter kali 3 meter dan dihuni oleh 15 orang, dan mereka mendirikan tenda di depan tempat wihara tersebut untuk persiapan upacara.
Because Dujum Rinpoche purposely tried to keep everything very small, so then it's very easy to take care of and manage. He didn't want to have a big temple with lots and lots of monks and nuns to take care of.
Ya, jadi Dujung Rinpoche memang sengaja memiliki barang-barang yang istilahnya tuh memang membuat wiharanya itu kecil supaya mudah untuk dirawat dan diatur.
So then the next day, our trekking was beginning. So I went with the group, we got organized, everything. And then we left for our beginning our trek, and we walked all the way up to the Everest base camp. And then we walked all the way across to eastern Nepal, almost to Kanchenjunga, and then down to a place in Dharan. So it took maybe 3-4 weeks. Then on the last day, we were coming back down, and on the way, I was very fortunate because the trek went right to the temple of Tulsik Rinpoche on the way there. And we went there, we stopped for the lunchtime, and we all went, and I said, I want to go and meet the Lama there, and the trekking guide took me, and then we met Tulsik Rinpoche, very good, could speak with him for about a half hour and receive a blessing. So that was just on the way. And he said he's going also to Kathmandu to go to the initiation with Tujum Rinpoche.
Ya, kemudian hari berikutnya, sebagaimana yang sudah direncanakan, Lama Jen bergabung dengan grup pendaki gunung tersebut dan mereka mulai mendaki Gunung Everest. Jadi mereka kemudian pergi ke arah timur dari Nepal. Kemudian mereka melakukan perjalanan pendakian itu selama kurang lebih 3 sampai 4 minggu. Dan untungnya pada hari terakhir mereka itu kebetulan mampir ke wihara dari Tulsi Rinpoche. Pada waktu itu mereka datang pada saat makan siang dan kemudian mereka diterima oleh para lama dan kemudian diantar oleh seorang guide untuk berjumpa dengan Tulsi Rinpoche, kemudian menerima blessing dan mereka berjumpa selama kurang lebih setengah jam. Dan kemudian Tulsi Rinpoche mengatakan bahwa beliau juga berencana untuk pergi ke Kathmandu untuk mengikuti inisiasi dari Dujung Rinpoche.
So on the last day of the trek, we came down to the plains and we were waiting to get into the bus to drive back to Kathmandu. And there was a big gathering of lamas and monks I saw over on the side there. And I said, I want to go over and see what's happening there. So I went there and there's a whole group of lamas and I'm talking with one lama and and he said, oh, you know, our teacher, his name is Gusho Sechu. And if you go and see him in Kathmandu, then when you get back to Kathmandu, he will introduce you to all the lama. I said, great. So I said, give me one letter to him. So the man, he wrote one letter quickly and gave to me. And the trekking guide is very annoyed because he wanted to get in the bus right away to get back to Kathmandu because his work was finished. But anyway, so I got the letter and then we got in the bus and we went back to Kathmandu that evening.
Ya, kemudian tadi pergi ke sebuah pos dan kemudian mereka ingin pergi pulang kembali ke Kathmandu dan Lama Jen melihat ada sekerumunan banyak para lama ya dan para biksu dengan memakai jubah dan kemudian datang ke sana dan Lama Jen menanyakan berbicara kepada seorang lama ya. Kemudian ditunjukkan ada seorang bernama Kushu Sechu tadi diberi surat supaya ia bisa pergi pulang kembali ke Kathmandu.
So Kushu Sechu, he was a very famous lama at that time. I didn't know, but he was the lama of the king of Nepal, and he was from Bhutan, and so he had a lot of political connections because all the Tibetans there, they had no citizenship in Nepal. So in order to get citizenship, in order to get permission to build a temple and own property, they all went to see Kushu Sechu, and Kushu Sechu made a passport for all of them.
Ya, jadi Kushu Sechu adalah seorang lama yang sangat terkenal sebetulnya. Jadi beliau adalah seorang berasal dari Bhutan dan beliau adalah seorang lama dari kerajaan Nepal. Dan Kushu Sechu ini mengatur untuk kewarganegaraan bagi orang-orang Tibet karena orang-orang Tibet yang tinggal di Nepal itu tidak memiliki kewarganegaraan sehingga jika mereka ingin mempunyai properti atau membangun wihara dan sebagainya mereka harus bertemu dengan Kushu Sechu dan untuk menerima semacam paspor atau surat izin untuk mendirikan wihara dan sebagainya.
But I only found out that all later. Anyway, I got to Kathmandu, and the next morning, 9 o'clock, I had the breakfast in the hotel, and I got in a taxi, and I went to see Kushu Sechu. And Kushu Sechu was living in the old Nepali house out in the rice fields, about 10 minutes from the hotel. So I got there and knocked on the door, and actually Gushut Seju, he could speak a little bit of English. So not very much, but a little bit. So it was okay. So I went to Gushut Seju and I said, was talking with him. He invited me to come in, had tea, talked with him for about an hour.
Ya, kemudian Ramajan pergi ke Kathmandu, kemudian pulang ke hotel dan kemudian sarapan. Dan setelah itu beliau Ramajan menemui Kususicu. Dan Kususicu ini tinggal di sebuah rumah yang berada di tengah-tengah sawah ya, dan jauhnya sekitar 10 menit perjalanan dari hotel. Dan Kususicu ini kebetulan bisa sedikit berbahasa Inggris sehingga kemudian bisa bercakap-cakap dengan Lama John.
So Gushut Seju, then he said, okay, you have to excuse me now because I have to leave. I have a meeting I'm going to. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
certainly,
I can
Lama John.
hear you.
So Gushut Seju said, I have to leave now. So because I have to go to a meeting.
Dia jago nih katanya. Dia ada belajar sama guru-guru yang mana sekarang. Bule.
Sorry, Lama John,
Tolong
about
di
that. Please admin and mute the
mute ya.
Yeah, please
Sorry, Lama John. Yeah, so some sound will come out.
No problem.
Okay, please continue.
So Gushut Seju said, I have to go to the meeting now. And then he said, I have to go and meet Dujum Rinpoche. And I said, oh, well, that's very good. That's why I came to see you, because I want to go and meet Dujum Rinpoche. Could you take me with you? And he said, of course. So he said, come. And then we walked all the way from his house in Kathmandu to Bodhanath. At that time, it was nothing but rice fields, no houses, no roads, nothing.
Ya, kemudian Kususicu setelah bercakap-cakap bilang begini, sudah saya akan pergi dan kamu bisa pergi sekarang. Dan kemudian Kususicu mengatakan saya akan pergi menemui Dujum Rinpoche. Dan kemudian Lama John mengatakan, oh kebetulan saya juga ingin berjumpa dengan Dujum, berjumpa dengan Dujum Rinpoche. Dan kemudian mereka pergi bersama-sama ke tempat Dujum Rinpoche, berjalan kaki ke Bodhanath. Dan waktu itu jalan di sekitar Bodhanath itu hanya sawah ya, jadi ada rumah-rumah. Jadi mereka berjalan kaki menuju ke Bodhanath.
So we walked to Bodhanath through the rice fields, and we came to Dujum Rinpoche's temple. And Dujum Rinpoche is sitting on the throne, giving the Dujum Tersar initiation. And so we waited there, and then there was a break in the initiation. And then Gushut Seju took me, and he went and greeted Dujum Rinpoche, and he introduced me to Dujum Rinpoche.
Ya, kemudian setelah itu sampailah mereka di Wihara Dujum Rinpoche, dan pada saat itu Dujum Rinpoche sedang duduk di atas tahta memberikan inisiasi dari Dujum Tersar. Kemudian mereka menunggu sampai acara inisiasi selesai, dan setelah itu Kususicu berjumpa dengan membawa Lama John untuk berjumpa dengan Dujum Rinpoche dan diperkenalkan kepada Dujum Rinpoche.
So I was thinking, how lucky is that? How fortunate is that? I wanted to meet Dujum Rinpoche. I came to see Gushut Seju, and just right then he was going to appointment with Dujum Rinpoche.
Ya, jadi Lama John berpikir bahwa betapa beruntungnya saya sehingga saya dapat berjumpa dengan Dujum Rinpoche, dan bahkan bertemu dengan Kususicu yang bahkan kebetulan beliau juga ingin ketemu dengan Dujum Rinpoche.
So Dujum Rinpoche said, now I'm giving this initiation for more days, and when the initiation finished, then you can come to my house which was downtown in the middle of Kathmandu at that time, and then you can meet.
Siapa ya Nia? Sorry ya,
You mute the
lama lah.
people that are coming.
Please mute that people.
Oh, ini ada miring.
Who's the host?
It's not me.
Yeah.
Merah ada yang itu ada.
Oh.
Ya. Ya, jadi
Okay, just continue.
Just I continue ya. So, jadi setelah itu Dujung Rinpoche mengatakan bahwa beliau masih akan memberikan inisiasi beberapa hari lagi, dan setelah itu Dujung Rinpoche mengatakan bahwa Lama Jun bisa menemui beliau di rumahnya di tengah kota Kathmandu. Yeah, so please.
Very auspicious meeting like that. If I tried to plan like that, it couldn't have happened, I think.
Yeah, it's true. Ya, jadi pertemuan yang sangat auspicious ya, sangat penuh dengan berkah. Dan seandainya kita merencanakan pertemuan seperti itu, pastilah tidak akan mungkin terjadi.
So I went quite a few times then to Dujum Rinpoche's house to meet him after the initiation was finished. So we went to the initiation quite a few days. And then at the initiation, I met many people, many lamas. And then after I went to his house. So I think you need to mute this person.
Ya. Aduh, Justin tolong ya, itu di mute. Siapa itu yang ganggu banget yang suaranya?
You can just go down the list and mute the people.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Lama, please.
So then this person's still not muted. Okay.
Sorry, Lama, would you please like to repeat what?
Should I repeat?
No, the last sentence, not all. So just you were saying the last time. No, you say last you're very auspicious to have that meeting. So if we make a planning, it's not impossible to do like this. Yeah, that the last time I hear from you.
So then I went many times to meet Dujum Rinpoche at his house, Kathmandu, and each time I requested some teaching from Dujum Rinpoche. That time Dujum Rinpoche, he had asthma. He was suffering from asthma, and because Kathmandu also is quite dusty, so his asthma, so some days he was coughing a lot and not feeling so well, so he wouldn't meet everyone. So we just had to go and try. And, if we went that day, maybe he was seeing people. If he was seeing people, then we could go and if he was feeling not so well that day, then we tell the attendant would come back tomorrow.
Ya, kemudian Lama John berkunjung banyak sekali beberapa kali berkunjung ke rumah Dujung Rinpoche untuk meminta ajaran kepada beliau. Dan Dujung Rinpoche sendiri menderita penyakit asma ya, dan karena kota Kathmandu itu agak berdebu ya, jadi itu membuat beliau menjadi asmanya semakin parah dan seringkali batuk-batuk. Dan kemudian karena hari itu beliau merasa tidak enak badan, maka pertemuan dilanjutkan hari berikutnya.
So anyway, slowly, over many days, then I was able to meet Dujum Rinpoche, and every time I would go there, either I would request some teaching from him, or he would be giving teaching to other people, and I would receive that also. Hello?
Yes, sorry, Lama lah. So I'm not really concentrate. So the last time please repeat the last just the last what you saying. What were you saying before?
Oh, I was just saying that then I would go and visit Dujum Rinpoche every day. Then some days we could see, and some days we couldn't see. But anyway, just every day I would try, and then when we could see, then I would always request some teaching from him, and I would also receive a lot of teaching because other people would be coming, and he would be giving some teaching to them. So we would also attend, and there were a couple of Dujum Rinpoche's assistants there that spoke English quite well.
Ya, jadi Lama John itu berusaha untuk ketemu dengan Dujum Rinpoche, tapi tidak setiap hari bisa berjumpa dengan beliau. Jadi kadang-kadang bisa ketemu, kadang-kadang bisa enggak. Tapi beliau Lama John tiap hari berusaha untuk ketemu dengan Dujum Rinpoche. Dan Dujum Rinpoche saat itu juga menerima banyak tamu yang lain yang meminta ajaran kepada beliau. Dan di situ juga ada beberapa orang asisten dari Dujum Rinpoche yang bisa lumayan berbahasa Inggris.
So one day I received many teaching from him. So then one day I was about to leave, and I was just getting up and going out of the room. And then he called me back. He said, "Here, come here." And then he gave me one small book. And he said, "Here, this is for you. You better practice this." And that book was the retreat, the Dujum Mountain Dharma teachings, which means how to practice in retreat, and also instruction about shamatha vipassana and how to practice great perfection, Dzogchen.
Ya, kemudian satu hari Lama John bisa menerima banyak ajaran, tapi ada satu hari di mana Lama John hanya keluar masuk ruangan. Dan suatu hari Dujum Rinpoche memanggil Lama John dan memberikan sebuah buku. Ini saya mempunyai sebuah buku untuk kamu pelajari. Dan ternyata buku itu berisi ajaran-ajaran Dharma, antara lain juga bagaimana caranya untuk memasuki retret, kemudian tentang meditasi samatha dan vipassana, serta bagaimana mempraktekkan meditasi kesempurnaan agung atau Dzogchen.
So that time, then again, he gave me several time, instruction about how to do this practice when I went back, and teaching how to do not just ordinary shamatha vipassana, but shamatha vipassana from the point of view of Dzogchen, great perfection.
Ya, jadi Kemudian kembali Dijom Rinpoche memberikan ajaran kepada Lama John bagaimana melakukan praktiknya dan kemudian mengajarkan meditasi samatha dan vipassana. Tetapi meditasi samatha dan vipassana ini bukan meditasi samatha vipassana yang biasa, tetapi meditasi samatha dan vipassana yang dari sudut pandang Dzogchen.
So Dujum Rinpoche had amazing presence. You know, it was like he was almost transparent there when you were visiting him.
Amazing what? Sorry, Lama?
Presence.
Oh, amazing presence. Okay.
He was amazing presence. It's like he's almost a transparent being when you were visiting him. He could read, if he read some text for you, he could read. He was the fastest reader of any Lama. He would read the whole book so quickly you couldn't imagine.
Ya, jadi Dijom Rinpoche itu mempunyai kehadiran yang amat luar biasa, yang amat menakjubkan ya, di mana beliau itu seperti seorang makhluk yang transparan. Jadi dan beliau adalah orang yang paling cepat membaca buku sadhana dan beliau paling cepat melafalkan buku sadhana, menyelesaikan membaca buku sadhana.
So one day I was there. Oh, another thing, you know, Dujum Rinpoche, so many blessing. It's just not like another Lama that I had met. I met many Lamas before when I was in Japan, many famous Lamas. And in Taiwan also, I met many famous Lamas. But I never met any Lamas that had that kind of power. So when you were just in Dujum Rinpoche's house, sitting downstairs, waiting to see him, or just out in the yard there, you could feel Dujum Rinpoche's blessing.
Ya, jadi Lama John pernah satu hari ya merasakan tinggal di tempat Dijom Rinpoche dan beliau mengatakan bahwa tidak ada lama, belum pernah ketemu seorang lama atau seorang guru yang memiliki begitu besar kekuatan yang bisa dirasakan oleh Lama John. Jadi Lama John sudah pernah ketemu dengan begitu banyak lama, baik di Taiwan, baik di Jepang, tetapi lama-lama yang terkenal ya, tetapi belum pernah merasakan seperti yang dirasakan bersama dengan Dijom Rinpoche. Jadi Dijom Rinpoche itu kehadirannya itu bisa dirasakan sangat kuat ya, bahkan ketika di luar rumah beliau sendiri kita bisa merasakan, kata Lama John, merasakan kehadirannya, merasakan blessing atau berkah dari beliau.
It was completely unlike, you know, seeing any other Lama that I had met before.
Ya, jadi Dijom Rinpoche ini adalah seorang guru yang sepenuhnya tercerahkan ya dibanding dengan beberapa guru-guru lain yang pernah Lama John temui waktu itu.
So then I stayed in Nepal. I decided I wasn't going to go back to Taiwan, and I stayed in Nepal on and on and on while Dijom Rinpoche was there.
Ya, kemudian Lama John tinggal di Taiwan dan kemudian kembali ke Nepal, dan Lama John selalu akan pergi ke Nepal sejauh Dijom Rinpoche ada di Nepal.
And I moved to Bodhanath, and then I was staying there, and then Dilko Khyentse Rinpoche came to Bodhanath to give many teachings. At that time, first time he came to Nepal. And then I met Dilko Khyentse Rinpoche and many other of the great Lama, and went to the teaching there also.
Ya, kemudian mereka pergi ke Bodhanath untuk menghadiri pengajaran Dharma, dan ada banyak Rinpoche yang datang ke sana seperti Turcik Rinpoche juga hadir di sana, kemudian Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche juga hadir di sana.
So one day I was coming to Dudjom Rinpoche's house, and everyone, when they came to Dudjom Rinpoche's house, because Dudjom Rinpoche was on and off feeling quite ill from asthma, so everyone tried to be very quiet and not make any noise and speak very quietly, etc.
Ya, jadi dan suatu hari Ramajan pergi ke tempat kediaman Dudjom Rinpoche, dan Dudjom Rinpoche itu menderita penyakit asma, dan mereka yang berada di situ sangat menjaga keheningan, ya, berbicara sangat pelan supaya tidak mengganggu Dudjom Rinpoche.
So since Dudjom Rinpoche's house was right in the center of Tamil in Kathmandu, in a very, very busiest tourist area, then he had a very small garden, not a big garden there, just a very small property. Mostly was the house and just enough space for a couple car parks, cars to park in front of the house.
Ya, jadi rumah Dudjom Rinpoche itu berada di Kathmandu, dan ada sebuah taman kecil, ya, atau kebun kecil di mana hanya mungkin beberapa mobil saja bisa dapat diparkir di situ.
And he had a big iron gate for the garden.
Big iron gate.
Iron
Dan
gate.
Ya, jadi di kebun itu ada sebuah gerbang besi yang sangat besar.
So usually the iron gate had a little door in it. So usually everybody that came to visit, they would open the door very carefully, not to make any noise, and go in through this little door in the gate and then go into the house. But I got there one day and I was walking down the path, and suddenly the iron gate, it flung open both sides of the gate. Bam! Made a huge racket. And like that, then I was very surprised. What's going on? I'm only about 10 feet from the gate.
Ya, jadi pintu atau pagar besi itu kalau sedang dibuka itu harus dibuka pelan-pelan supaya tidak menimbulkan suara yang berisik. Tetapi suatu hari Ramajan pergi ke situ, dan tiba-tiba pintu itu kemudian terbuka lebar dan menimbulkan suatu suara yang sangat berisik.
Yeah, and then there's a big roar of a Jeep engine, you know, revving up, rah, rah, rah. And then the big Jeep drives out from the gate, a very rough Jeep, like an army Jeep.
Ya, kemudian ternyata ada suara mesin berbunyi, ya, berisik, dan sebuah mobil Jeep.
Swasti Buddha Padmasambhava Atisa Drong Tondan Konglong Engkaulah para guru agung kualitas bodhisattva